Sir,
What?
are we being too literal?
No, you fool. We're following orders. We were told to comb the desert, so we're combing it.
Found anything yet? Nothing yet, sir. How about you? Not a thing, sir. What about you guys? We ain't found shit.
Hi there. How you sleeping, good? Gentlemen, listen up, y'all. Here's the new plan. You're gonna start a riot, and we're gonna walk out the front door.
Hey, man. I know guys on crack that makes more sense than you.
Really? Then let me put it to you this way, cuz. Yeah. I don't know how to be. No crib on MTV. God only knows. Got my mini-me in the GP. See how it goes. Evil's all that I see. You ask me my name? G to the Rizzo, E to the Bizzo, I to the Lizzo. I'm a crazy. You all knew that. Austin caught me in the first act. It's all backwards. What's with that? So I'll make a prophecy from the dog to the mini-me. Give me an Escalade or two-way bling-bling on eBay. Domino. Yeah. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Uh-huh. It's for all my homies in Bruges. Cristal, my moto, a couple of bee hutches. Why not? I got a buster move, dropping buster groove, feeling fine. Got an evil crew, gold member to lick my 9. Till then, I'll on my butt, brains out, put on call and splooge in your app. That's all. For shizzle my nizzle, y'all.
The sound of the cannon.
Attention! On the count of 3. 1.
So it begins.
Such a crick in the neck!
Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
It's showtime.
Everybody comfortable?
Yeah.
Get your motherfucking ass up when I'm talking.
And here we go.
Snooze gave me a good laugh. Like, I've been laughing about this shit for days now. I forgot when it first came out, like the 8th or the 9th. This was published just the 9th by Collider, who I used to listen to all the time. I used to watch them all the time, like religiously. John Campea used to be with them. I don't really follow him anymore, but like I've heard some of the some of his takes lately. And then Christian Harloff, I've always been a fan of his. Even after his little rant, that he didn't get to go to Galaxy's Edge, and he kind of got into it with his producer on air. That was kind of a bad look for him, but I've always kind of been a fan of his though too. But Collider, if you don't know, it's always been a big um like news organization, mostly like pop culture news. Um, then it got taken over by a guy named Mark Fernandez who decided to go in more of like the celebrity route. So they got rid of their talk shows that they had, Collider Movie Talk, Collider Jedi Council, Collider Live. They got rid of all that. So all those personalities that have been following for years, they just got scattered to the wind, got fired. So Collider is just like a shadow of its former self, its former glory. It's just become a celebrity shill site, basically, and like, you know, corporate shill site. So I'm not totally surprised by this take. I'm gonna I'm gonna bring up this article. It's pretty funny. I haven't actually read the whole thing, but just the headline alone makes me laugh. Bringing back Daisy Ridley is the best thing Star Wars could have done. The Skywalker has risen. She's a Palpatine. Uh, I'm still gonna call her Palpatine. I don't care which. The hero of a generation is set to make her return, as Daisy Ridley is confirmed to star in a new Star Wars movie as Rey Skywalker. How is she a hero of a generation? Luke Skywalker was a hero of a generation, but man, she pales in comparison to his greatness. Like, what did she even do that was worthy of note? Like, come on.
Okay, fine, I'm cool, I'm fine.
I'll try to keep it cool. I'll try to keep it calm. I'm just doing this for lulz at this point. I was just rearranging the comics in my room, and like, I got them mostly on my shelves. And Star Wars is up there. I got a shit ton of Star Wars comics. So it's like half Marvel line, half Dark Horse line. The Dark Horse is far superior. I'm saying that right now. But the Marvel line still had some good stories though. Like the main Star Wars series, and then the Darth Vader series was good. Vader Down. It's got like this iconic scene where Vader's surrounded by rebels, and he's like, they tell him to surrender, and he's like, all they say you're surrounded, and he said, all I'm surrounded by is fear and dead men. Like this is an iconic line from Vader from a comic book. Like some of the good Star Wars content you get isn't even from the fucking movies. Like some of the best is from the novels and the comics, other supplemental material, the games. Like everybody praises the KOTOR game. I still to this day have not played it because I never had an Xbox. But one day I will. And I'm not a big PC gamer either. But yeah, but one day I will. But anyway, how does he come to this conclusion that Disney that that Rey is the hero of a generation? I think that's laughable. Man, come on. Like there was like nothing to her character. You don't get how she's so powerful. I mean they try to explain it away in the last movie with her being Palpatine's I guess granddaughter. His son was like a clone of him, some shit. Yeah, it's very muddled. But then she hardly goes through any training. She's just like the best already at everything. Automatically can like mind trick somebody and do all these crazy force powers. The lightning just comes naturally. It's very insulting to people that have been engrossed in Star Wars like their whole lives and know the lore and know that like Jedi can't just do this shit like on the fly. Like they have to go through rigorous training, discipline to get to these to get to do these feats. Anyways, the news came along with many other announcements during Star Wars Celebration. But there were already a few rumors making the rounds on the internet for a few months, especially after Ridley revealed on social media a visit to the Lucasfilm headquarters last December. Back then, she promised nothing saucy was happening, but fans did feel a disturbance in the force. Yeah, this guy here, he's gonna call that disturbance a good thing, but it's not. It's not good. Now it's official, and it's also the best thing that the franchise could have done. I wonder. This has got to be ironic. This can't. This got to be a joke. It doesn't matter if you like the Rise of Skywalker or the Star Wars sequel trilogy as a whole. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. In the end, it does. There were diminishing returns from the first movie to the third movie. Like each one declined in the box office. The fact remains that the trilogy exists and is part of the established canon. So there's no use in criticism for its own sake. Yes, there is. There always is. And Ridley's work is one of the best things about those movies. Okay, I'll admit that she's a good actress, but it's still she wasn't given much to work with though. Not only did Rey have to deal with the flawed legacy of the Jedi embodied in her master Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, if you didn't know, but Ridley herself had to endure a lot of harsh criticism of the trilogy. Oh no, an actress or actor, it doesn't matter the gender, had to deal with harsh criticism of their movie. That's never happened in the history of cinema. Get over it. So it's only fair that she be the one to lead Star Wars back to its glory days in the theater. Glory, man. And we're gonna get back to where they were. Not, not that you've already destroyed what made Star Wars to begin with. Like Han, Luke, and Leia were the main draw in Star Wars. Let's be real. Like the story was mostly about them. All the expanded universe stuff, it was mostly about them. Like most of the novels and stuff covered their lives, like from beginning to end, and Anakin's life. It's all surrounding the Skywalker. She's not a Skywalker. She's a Palpatine. But let's continue. The situation with the rise of the First Order and destruction of the New Republic in The Force Awakens was dire. The new fascist regime threatened to rapidly conquer all the galaxy, and the return of the Jedi seemed to be the only hope against the rising tyranny. We all know how that worked out in the end. The new Star Wars, yeah, that was shit the way it turned out. Like, you had these guys conquer the Empire, and then in the end, it was all for nothing because the Empire just rose again with another face, the New Order. I thought that was stupid. You should have brought in like Thrawn, from the beginning, brought in Thrawn, or like the Yuzan Vong. As much people shit on the Yuzan Vong, I thought they were a useful tool, like storytelling tool, because you could do a lot of things with that. An alien invasion, Uh, I still liked the new Jedi Order series. The only thing I would have changed is Chewie's death. I probably wouldn't have had him die. Yeah. Spoiler alert! If you haven't read the expanded universe stuff, um, the new Star Wars movie, as announced during Star Wars Celebration this week, will be written by Stephen Knight and directed by Charmin Obey-Chinoy, both coming in fresh to make their debuts in Star Wars. Yeah, Stephen Knight. Let's see. I think he's done some genre stuff. I know Chinoy hasn't. She's more of like a documentary director. Um, Stephen Knight. I might be thinking of a different. I think there's another Stephen Knight. This guy has written screenplays for the films Closed Circuit, Dirty Pretty Things, and Eastern Promises, and also wrote and directed the films Locke and Hummingbird. What does that have to do with Star Wars, though? What does that have to do with, like, sci-fi, fantasy? Why? Why do they keep choosing people that have like nothing, like no horse in this race? Just because they've done things that have critical acclaim doesn't mean that this is going to be the right wheelhouse for them. We saw that with Ryan Johnson. Like he might have claimed to be a Star Wars fan, but he clearly did not like Luke Skywalker. What the hell? Guy directed what Looper and Brick, and then they got him to do a Star Wars movie. He did a good episode of, some people call it the best Breaking Bad episode, The Fly. I don't think it's the best. I'm actually one of those people that do not think that's the best episode. But whatever. He did The Last Jedi, and here we are. Though we don't know what they have in store for us yet, only that it will be set 15 years after the rise of Skywalker, rise of Palpatine, with Rey setting up a new Jedi Order. Okay, yeah, so they're going the new Jedi Order route, but they're replacing Luke with Rey. We'll see how that goes. Still, it's safe to say that the Jedi are needed more than ever. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy is a blank slate, with no political regime installed, nor any military institutions to guard it. It's the first time something actually new can be done, both on and off screen. Oh. Seeing dollar signs.
Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory.
You serious?
That J. Jonah Jameson laughing reaction, that was my reaction when I first heard this news. The Jedi have always been known as the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy. Yeah, these are telling things that we already know. Prior to the Clone Wars, were the only institution to provide aid to member planets of the Old Republic, although only through diplomatic negotiations, officially at least. Look up, there's a good comic book in the Dark Horse run called The Stark Hyperspace War. It takes place prior to Phantom Menace. If you want a good little, well, there's a bunch of stories I could recommend. There's a whole Rise of the Sith omnibus with Darth Maul going on, missions and shit. And then there's novels with him too. There's one called Maul. I think it's called Unchained or something. Oh no, Lockdown. Yeah, that's what it's called. And of course, I've recommended these before. Labyrinth of Evil takes place right prior before Revenge of the Sith. Dark Lord, The Rise of the Sith takes place right after. A lot of good novels surrounding the prequels and, before. And then, yeah, of course, a lot of good novels too in New Republic era. And in between. Disney also put out a few good novels, I'll admit. Bloodline with Leia. It's a struggle. It's more of a struggle to think of the good stuff that Disney put out. That tells you right there. They've had this property for like 10 years or so. And yeah, we still haven't seen a whole lot of quality content out of them. Mando has its moments, but overall it's kind of generic and bland. Yeah, Rogue One was good. That's about it. I enjoyed Rebels. I really did enjoy Rebels. I love all the characters in that, but I feel like they're gonna overuse them. I feel like they have already. Like they should have just made a sequel series, a sequel animated series to that, or something. But instead, we're gonna get all this live action stuff thrown at us, and people are gonna lap it up as they always do. But yeah, it's just not gonna be as good as what we've gotten before, because they're gonna replace Luke with Ahsoka too. Like the whole heir to the Empire story, they're gonna tell through Ahsoka instead of Luke. With Thrawn trying to take down the New Republic by using a clone Jedi. Let's see how that goes. If yeah, I don't know if they've gotten in touch with Timothy Zahn. I've seen he's on like a book signing tour right now. So I don't know how busy he is, like if they've even consulted with him. They love to skirt things though, like try to pay authors as little royalty as they can. Like Alan Dean Foster came out against them before, like he was in court with them before because they had refused to pay him royalties from the previous regime. Which when you take over a company, you acquire their assets as well as their liabilities. Like any royalties the company was paying the creators, they need to keep paying, or they're gonna get dragged into court. Let's face it, the Jedi were never an easy bunch to deal with. Prior to the Clone Wars, they were extremely rigid in their ways and barely tolerated those in their ranks who strayed even a little bit. Yeah, no shit. Members like that's why they fell. Though that was the point. Like Lucas made it clear that that was why they fell because of their hubris, their arrogance, and Yoda even pointed that out in Attack of the Clones. Like when he was talking to Anakin, no, Obi-Wan and Mace Windu in the temple. Like too sure of themselves they are, even the older, more experienced ones. Like he was referring to themselves. Members like Qui-Gon Jinn, who dared think outside the Jedi box, were treated as mavericks, and in the end, this dogmatic approach drove bright young students away from the Order, like Ahsoka Tano. Yeah, Qui-Gon was a descendant of, I mean, disciple of the Living Force, which a lot of the Jedi they just followed the Force. Like the Living Force, I guess was like another entity to them that they didn't take seriously, I guess. And Qui-Gon understood that the living force it actually allows you to transcend death. Uh, and that's how come he gets to communicating with Yoda in the Clone Wars, and Yoda learns the secret too, and that's why he eventually becomes a Force ghost. And it's a secret that the Sith have never been privy to, and most of the Jedi haven't either. So that's why it's so special that these guys become ghosts. Um, just giving a little Star Wars lore in case anybody hasn't watched or read all this stuff. Ahsoka, she leaves the Jedi Order in the Clone Wars because she's accused of a murder, and the Jedi just against all I don't know common sense, they just believe that she did it. Like Anakin's one of the few people that believe she didn't do. And so when they invite her back, when she's proven innocent, she decides to leave. She's become disillusioned. Like are we really the peacekeeper, the arbiters of justice? Like, 'cause you threw me under the bus, at the slightest, the slightest drop of a hat. So I understood why she walked away, but it was sad though. Like a lot of stuff in Clone Wars that happened was really moving, and that's why I loved it so much. And then Rebels too, I loved seeing her come back. But I feel like she's being overused now. Like she is a great character, but you can't just like overutilize your great characters, or they get stale. Like people get tired of them. And then I'll point out another live stream. I think she might have probably should have died in Order 66. Also, kind of, it always kind of confused me when I watch Clone Wars. Like, how does he have an apprentice if he's not a master? Like, that makes no sense. And they never explain that. They never really explain it. They just say, okay, this is a new character we got here, and she's just gonna be, tagging along with Anakin, and like you're gonna have to deal with it. And that's why a lot of people in the when the Clone Wars movie, the animated movie came out, that people did not like her character because she was just this snot-nosed kid that was following around, calling him Sky Guy, calling R2 R2E. He called her Snips. It was just this kitty, you know, this kitty thing that George Lucas decided to throw in is like a callback to Jar Jar, basically, and which Jar Jar featured in a bunch of episodes too. It felt like George Lucas kind of fu to the fans, even though some of the episodes were funny. Though it seemed like he was kind of self-indulging. But Ahsoka became a fan favorite character though throughout Clone Wars because of her development. Like she was really very well developed and became just like a staple of this new Star Wars. She a creation of Dave Filoni, and he's just got this attachment to this character. Like he's never gonna let her go unless he finds some heroic way to have her die. Because the fact that she's not in the Disney sequel trilogy is kind of like elephant in the room at this point. It's like you got these Jedi running around still during the era of the New Republic. So why are they not taking part in these battles? Why are they not helping out? Against Snoke and the First Order at all? Why are they not featured at all? My guess is Disney Lucasfilm is going to try to explain that away somehow. Like Ahsoka was off in the Outer Rim dealing with Thrawn, maybe at the same time. We shall see. But in the meantime, I'm gonna laugh about this. Once the Empire fell, it was up to Luke Skywalker to build it all over again until he understood why they fell and decided the galaxy was better off without them. I thought that was bullshit. The way Ryan Johnson went about that, because Luke Skywalker would not do that. Like the real Luke Skywalker, the one from the expanded universe, who was very faithful to the Jedi Order. Like he very much respected what the legacy that he came from. Luke came from, Yoda and Obi-Wan's teachings. Like he would not just throw them away. In The Rise of Skywalker, Luke admits to Rey that he was wrong. Seeing their childhood idol so flawed and vulnerable left many fans angry. But Luke himself was never a very assertive person. No, that was in Rise of Skywalker, people were actually happy with the way Luke admitted he was wrong because they had wanted to see that. They wanted to see him to for him to see that he had been wrong, like he was wrong to turn away from the Jedi. And okay, this part is bullshit. He was not always looking for reasons not to do things. He was reluctant at first, but he had always wanted to go out and go on adventures. Like that was part of the when he's looking at the two sons, like that you can see that on his face that he wants to go out there and do things and fight the Empire, be a pilot, but he's been stuck on this planet. Like he wants to do things. He's not trying to not do things. Oh yeah, yeah. He's using the excuse of not to finish his training with Yoda, but that's because he wants to go help his friends. Like he's impatient. Like that's his main flaw. And Yoda was testing his patience and he failed, and that's why he gets his hand cut off in his encounter with Vader. That's the consequence. And then he gets, the big reveal, like yeah, this author of this article doesn't understand. Like, it feels like he didn't watch the movies all throughout and like retain them very well. Um, and he says in this paragraph, he was the right person to save the galaxy and become the legend to inspire it, but never to rebuild anything. it was never his thing. Yeah, that's some more bullshit. Trying to trying to justify everything that Disney did with the sequels. Rey, on the other hand, was always the anti-Luke, so to speak. She's optimistic, learn how to fight. That was Luke's thing before. That's why Ryan Johnson fundamentally misunderstood Luke. He was always the optimistic character. Like Han was the foil to him. Han was the cynic. She learned how to fight and survive by herself growing up on Jakku and knows how to fix or build things from scratch after a lifetime of scavenging old Imperial tech. Yeah, no, we didn't get to see that though. Like, we didn't get to see her learning things. Like, we're just told that she's learned all this shit. Like show don't tell. Like, that's that's one of the main like posits of writing. Like, show don't tell. Growing up alone in an endless desert made her see the beauty in the galaxy beyond that. She learned the basic lesson. Yeah, that was like one of the few facets of a character that we got, was that she had an appreciation for like green because she never saw it on the desert planet, but like I don't know. There's not much of a unique trait. Like, I mean, it was sweet to see her, be like, oh, I didn't know there was this much green in the whole galaxy, and to see Hans look at her. There were some good moments in the sequel trilogy. I'm not gonna lie, like, but overall the storytelling just was subpar. She learned the basic lessons and philosophy from Luke on Octo, and now can bring in fresh ideas to the Order, and something that he never could. He had too much influence from past icons of the Jedi. Oh, jeez. This is the whole, like, new generation supplanting the old generation. They have fresh ideas that you old fogies could never have. You relics from the past, you can all die and be forgotten. That's basically what he's saying. Rey also knew the Jedi's flaws firsthand with Luke and Kylo. Yeah, that is something Luke would never do. Would even contemplate killing his nephew in his sleep. That was something I knew felt wrong when I watched it. Like, there's something not right about this. This does not jibe with everything that Luke has been up until this point. And knows the potential for good in a new generation with force-sensitive people like Finn. Good luck getting John Boyega to come back for this. Maybe at the back up a dump load of a truck of money to his house and just, yeah, maybe. Where did I leave off? Oh yes. Ever since the Rise of Skywalker came out, Rise of Palpatine, Star Wars has been having trouble with its movies. Turmoil engulfed nearly every project announced. Yeah, that's an understatement. That's mostly because the backlash to the last 3 movies released was so widespread, no one dared to touch the franchise. Also, Kathleen Kennedy is a shitty leader. Charmin obeyed Chinoy's movie, for example, had Damon Lindelof as a writer, who left the project precisely because of the pressure the Star Wars franchise evokes. And honestly, who can blame him after all the harassment the cast and crew of these movies have been through? Yeah, I haven't really seen the cast and crew be harassed. I mean, if he could cite some examples in the article, but he doesn't seem to. Yeah, so I don't know. What I heard was, even before Disney bought Lucasfilm, what I heard was it was the media that was mostly shitting on, like Jake Lloyd, poor Jake Lloyd that played Anakin, and then um, shit, guy who played Jar Jar, Ahmed Best. Yeah, he even said that it was the media that drove him to contemplating suicide. Like, that's how bad it got. Like, it wasn't the fans. And then the fans were criticizing the Disney sequels mostly because of the characters and, like, you know, the story choices with the characters. Like, um, Rose Tico, her character was just kind of there, and people could see that. Like, she didn't really serve a purpose in the story, uh, other than to be, you know, Disney's diversity inclusion. Uh, People weren't criticizing the actress. No, maybe China was because she was Vietnamese, but yeah, um, yeah, people were criticizing the character, not the actress. Like, the actress herself is great. I've seen her in interviews, and she's a sweetheart. And trying to think, yeah, nobody ever criticized Daisy Ridley. It's the writing. It's Jar Jar Abrams' writing, and Ryan Johnson. So if anyone's getting harassed or blamed for anything, it's the directors, it's the writers. It's not the actors. They're just there to do a job. Like, they're just doing what they're told, you know, by hacks. Well, just call them what they are, hacks. And and yeah, they never should have left George Lucas. They should have consulted with him. It's his fault. I mean, he sold it, but yeah, ultimately they should have. It's just gonna make me laugh now. I can't even get mad anymore. Come on. It is a bold move. I'll give him that. Bringing Ray back is a bold and brave move. That's I don't think it's gonna pay off. Like, I can't understand what Kathleen Kennedy's thinking. It's like she hasn't learned any lessons from the Disney trilogy. Like, you saw how people reacted. I don't know what is going on. And on these articles, damn. I wanted to see some comments. Well, well, I'm sure I could find a way to comment on this. I mean,
You serious?
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity. Farewell.
yeah, this is gonna be it's gonna be funny if this actually happens. Like, we'll see if this actually happens. But yeah, never know. Never know. In the meantime, freaking Kathleen Kennedy. This is what I think of when I think of.
A lot of people ask why. Why treat the customer this way? Why? Because fuck them. That's why.